1, 2, 3.
Hello, welcome to Rock the Cash Bar. I'm Ben Mowbray.
And I'm Diane Gallagher.
Every week we pick one song and do a deep dive into the lyrics and explain the different ways they've been interpreted.
We will also discuss how the song connected to us on a personal level, focusing on all the embarrassing details.
Glad to have you here. Enjoy the show.
Welcome to the Cash Bar, Diane. How are you?
Apparently, I'm good.
Got a margarita in hand. You're all dolled up. Proper parrot head attire. Look at you. So Hawaiian and floral.
I look stupid. I look like I'm about to be thrown into a volcano.
You look fantastic. You're getting loose in the middle of the day.
I am. A little skinny margarita. For people who are just listening, we had a big hula tiki theme for my son for his birthday in May. So I just pulled out all those decorations and lit up the the podcast room with it.
It looks fantastic. I've often thought that you would make an excellent human sacrifice. If we were going to throw anybody into a volcano, it should probably be you.
Okay, thanks. Great. Sounds wonderful.
I think it would be a very effective offering. I think the gods would be very pleased with Diane Gallagher getting thrown into their maw.
Okay, bring some rain to Texas or something. That would be great.
If the choice is you or me, who is the tribe really good to throw into the volcano? Like, you're trying to appease God. You're not throwing skinny old me in there.
Okay, well, I'm not all that skinny, but I do look pretty in Hawaiian gear, I think. I don't know.
You do.
Here's the thing about, okay, I don't wear patterns. I know a lot of women love like floral patterns or, God help me, animal print, leopard print. And I think a lot of guys think it's hot, but here's the thing. It's good on skinny women. Because the thing about prints is it's big. It makes everything big. And I was like, I look like Mount Fiji coming in right now. Prints, animal prints, I'm always like, hell no, keep that away from me. It makes me look 3 times bigger than I am. And I need to warn girls, like, they love their animal print, but I'm like, it makes you look fat. Unless you are fat and you want to lean into your fatness, like, by me all means, go leopard. But I'm like, it's not a good look, guys. Stop it.
I secretly hope that Indian fashion, like fashion from India, takes over the entire world. Like when Indian women get all dressed up to go to weddings and everything. And I don't even, it's not floral print, but it's just like so unbelievably colorful. I'm just like, that is incredible. We should all be doing that.
That's different. That's gorgeous. And it's like these gorgeous, like small patterns on bright colors. I'm talking about leopard and Hawaiian. I watched a lot of footage of parrot heads for the last couple of days, and I'm like, yikes.
American trash fun fashion. Get into it. When I first started working at a tiki bar, you'd have to wear a floral shirt. You got to get into it. I would change in the parking lot because I felt like I was drawing attention to myself. Like, I didn't want to be the guy in the loud Hawaiian shirt because what I realized is that you have to match the vibration of your outfit. Like, you have to. There was no being sullen, angry bartender wanting to sit in the corner and be left alone when you're wearing a Hawaiian shirt. You have to respond. You're a live target now.
Yep. Speaking of getting into this whole vibe. So I went to Beyonce on Saturday. So the week before Beyonce, I downloaded her set list and I was like, I don't want to be the dud there that doesn't know every song. I want to enjoy this completely and fully. And it worked. Like, I knew every damn song she played and I knew it well. Yeah. But I'm going to say, after like really immersing myself in Beyonce and then going to see Beyonce, I still have the silver nails, and then I took the wheel and took a hard turn to go to Jimmy Buffett. Because I'm going to tell you, like, walking up to that concert, the hotel I was staying at, everyone was going to Beyonce because it was right on the train that goes to, NRG Stadium. At the concert, everything. I was a severe minority and I loved it. It was great. Like, I was like, you could pick like 10 of us white people in all of NRG Stadium. It was every black hottie in Houston showed up for Beyonce. And, it's just like her new album is like great. It's like disco and house music. It was just good. And so then I was like, all right, I got to shift gears and, get into some Jimmy Buffett. And I watched like an old 60 Minutes documentary, and the crowd at Jimmy Buffett, I was like, the only Black person is on stage with him.
Yeah.
Like his dancers and someone playing the drums and stuff. I mean, I was like, this is the whitest white thing. This is your dad having a good time.
It is a long way from Queen Bee's throne room to Margaritaville. And it does feel a little weird that the only Black person in the place is playing the steel drums. Like, it's hard not to like, this it shouldn't make me uncomfortable, but it does.
I mean, they're having a good time. His dancers are having a good time, but I was like, that crowd is the waspiest, whitest vacationing crowd I've ever seen.
We're doing 2 episodes in a row with some really, really strange fan bases. Like,
yes.
they might be Giants fan base, and then all of a sudden we're in with the Parrot Heads. It has been a tough turn, even if you don't throw Beyonce into the mix.
Yeah. But listen, I'm not faulting the Parrot Heads as we get into it. I like how you can lean into escapism. You can lean into vacation music. Jimmy Buffett leaned into it and made $1 billion fucking dollars. So it's a smart move. This thing is giving me a headache. I think I have to take this off.
Yeah.
It hurts. Let me look at my hair now. But it's an exciting thing. And it's funny is, I have all this stuff out, but the song we're doing, Pirate Looks at 40, has kind of a sad, less party atmosphere than Margaritaville, which honestly, if you get into the lyrics of Margaritaville, it's okay. I'm gonna talk about that real quick. I had a joke that like the 3 verses of Margaritaville, I think, connect to the 3 decades of your life, your 20s, 30s, and 40s really well. Like, and at the end of one of Margaritaville, at the end of one verse, he's like, it's nobody's fault. And then he's like, well, maybe it could be my fault. And then the 3rd verse, he's like, it's my fucking fault. That's what in the 20s, you're like, I'm a victim. Nothing's my fault. And in the 30s, you're like, well, maybe that one's on me. And in your 40s, you're like, I'm in therapy because all of this is because of me. These are my decisions that ruined my life, and I'm trying to fix it now.
It really does come like emotionally full circle. Like it is a complete total turn. You're right about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was surprised at how much like heart and emotion I found in Jimmy Buffett and in his fans. Like, he recently passed away. He passed away just a couple of weeks ago. So the emotions are still raw. I listened to a podcast that was hosted by 2 guys who are in their early 30s, so about 10 years younger than us, and talking about the way that they related to Jimmy Buffett within their families reminded me of the way that your husband's family relates to John Prine, the way that my family relates to John Denver. Obviously, I knew that Jimmy Buffett had a really, really strong connection with his audience, but I thought that connection was based on boats and margaritas.
Yeah.
I thought it was like barbecue friendship. You didn't realize like no, this is generation spanning. This is family defining music. Like it really struck me at how deep that bond was. Like I listening to these 2 guys in their early 30s talk about what is in fact dad rock. Like it's the dad rockiest, barbecuiest, corniest music you could possibly imagine, and they have a complete spiritual bond to it that is just undeniable. Like, you can laugh at it if you want, but you'd be a heartless bastard if you did.
It's all based in good feelings, which is nice. And I think that's the whole vibe that he knows he put out there and leaned into, is like, let's just have a good time. Let's relax. Let's be in vacation mode. And I didn't know anything about Jimmy Buffett himself. And I had a really good time learning about his life. Like, this whole like ocean sea thing isn't manufactured for albums. That's his life. His dad was a sea captain, a boat captain. He grew up on the Gulf. I mean, this was his life from a baby, his dad's life, to his death. It was not manufactured. It was very real for him.
Yeah, and it's amazing how you can catch those things, like particularly from your father. Like, where I grew up, it was thousands of miles from the ocean. I didn't see the first time I saw the ocean, I was 8 years old, and we were in Ireland, and I didn't see it again until Galveston when I was 15. The ocean was not part of my life, but sailing and boating was, because my dad was a tanker man. That's how he got the hell out of Ireland. He started working for Shell on their big tanker ships. That's where he fell in love with the ocean. So I would grow up on the frozen plains of Alberta, and my dad would have this big basket of boating magazines, and so it'd be just frozen gray, dark, and black outside. But then it's like the bright blue waters and women in bikinis on these, like that was my dad's happy place. That was where he was going. Like, yeah, we're shoveling snow right now, but one of these days I'm going to get a sailboat.
I love
one of these days we're going down to the Gulf Coast. It is going to happen, and he did make it happen. Like, and that but that really infected me. Like I have a love of the ocean that comes from just that. Like I never saw it. I saw it twice when I was a kid.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I'm me too. I am if you have to make me choose a vacation, I'm going beach. I want beach. And my husband is not, even though we got married in the Virgin Islands and we've been back multiple times, and that is his exception because it's gorgeous. It is gorgeous. It is mountain. It is pool water, blue water. He actually gets in the ocean and snorkels there. He won't do it anywhere else. And I mean, I've just always been an ocean girl, a beach girl, even our ugly Galveston beach. I don't care. I love the beach. And I'm always like, well, where did this come from? And I think it's just comes from, some people like it, some people don't. But then I found out my family, like my dad was adopted and we always wondered what his real mom was. And anyway, she was this girl from the Azores in Portugal, like her family was. And I was like, I think it's just deep into my family history. Like we're island people,
Yep.
I love it.
It's a great joke, but I think it's very, very true. It's just like, I truly believe that love can only exist between one man and the sea.
Is that Hemingway?
No, it was like an Onion article, I think. But I also like every time I'm sitting by the ocean, like I think it's like, obviously, like it's nice, you're warming your body by the sun and everything like that, but I think it's straight up elemental. Like we came out of there. Like that's what gives us life. Like we're amphibious creatures.
I mean, there's a reason why the sound of an ocean soothes everybody. I don't know one person who's like, what an annoying sound. It's just nice. And that's why you get mad sometimes when you go to the beach and you're just like, I want to just chill and listen to the ocean. And then somebody comes out with their boombox and you're like, no, I don't want to hear Tejano right now. Don't hit me with that soccer ball.
I am here to listen to the moon dictate the tides, damn it.
Get out of here. And then sometimes I'm drunk and I'm just like, let's put on Depeche Mode.
I love how you're margarita-villing it. It's noon and Diane's almost through with her one margarita.
I am
one drink mom. We're doing one drink mom today.
I'm a method podcaster. But yes, okay, one drink mom. We were talking about this earlier. I was like, I can't get sloshed. Charlie's bus comes in 3 hours. I can't be that mom. But I will say, one drink mom is a much better mom, at least in my case, because I can be a little uptight. I'm in my chores, I'm doing stuff, and Charlie comes home and he's like, let's party. Let's play one of my games that I made up that never make sense. And they're actually very hard. And I'm always like, no, I can't. But one drink mom is like, fuck them chores. Let's play your dumb game. Let's have some fun. Let's party. One drink mom is good.
One drink mom is looser and way more fun.
Yeah.
We're doing a Pirate Looks at 40 by the recently passed Jimmy Buffett. May he rest in peace. He seemed like a fun sort.
Yes.
A Pirate Looks at 40.
Mother ocean, I've heard you call. Wanted to sail upon your waters since I was 3 feet tall. You've seen it all. You've seen it all.
Mother Ocean, I have heard your call. Wanted to sail upon your waves since I was 3 foot tall. You've seen it all. You've seen it all. And it's hard not to do that too. Like when I look at the ocean, like you could go down to Galveston and just marvel at how fucking big it is.
Yeah.
And how people came across it on wooden ships. Like it always amazes me. It's the old English sailor in me. Like I understand that empire building is not a good thing. Oppressing people all over the world is a terrible thing. But within that, there's a whole hell of a lot of stories of individual bravery. Like just getting on those boats, like being forced onto that boat in Southampton, knowing that it's probably a doom ship, knowing that there's like the captain, the first mate, and the navigator who are doing unbelievably complex mathematics just to understand where the hell they are on a globe that hasn't been fully explored.
Yes.
And then everybody else on that ship is some fucking barbarian that they've just grabbed up, got drunk, taught to tie a knot, and just like, okay, lots of luck to you fellas.
The drunken cojones on all these people who signed up for these missions, even like when the boats got bigger and with like the Titanic, like being like, I don't know, I'm gonna wait. Yep. That seems unsafe. Even the Carnival cruises now, I'm like, I don't know. That's the ocean. It's way bigger than anything else on this planet. I mean, the amount of ocean versus the amount of land, I'm like, our whole planet's a fucking water terrifying place to me.
Absolutely mind-blowing.
Yeah.
I always think of like how incredibly typically English it is to have this like really well-educated and really well-spoken sea captain. It's sort of like the way the English do it. Like you think of like King Charles, and you think of James Bond, and you think of these really sort of polite, well-dressed, very well-spoken people. But then you realize like, no, there's way more Jason Stathams than James Bonds.
I know.
Way more guys who just as soon knock your head together. It's
I know.
like the captain gets off the boat and just like, well, we'd really like your silks and we'd really like your spices. And like, oh no, we're not going to give that up without a fight. All right then.
All right then.
And
Well,
then here comes Jason Statham. Right, you lot, get in a fucking boat.
to me, every like captain or pirate, everyone in the ocean is Irish to me. It's just
Yeah.
an Irishman. Except for like the I am the captain now, like those scary pirates. That was
Yeah.
like there's two types. There's those, and then there's just drunken Irishmen.
there's the drunken Irishman that we've sort of learned to deal with.
Yeah.
And the terrifying Somalis that we can't even begin to relate to. That's all that's on the ocean. There's nothing else, Jimmy. I don't know why you keep thinking about it like it's this happy place. It's terrifying.
It is.
Watch the man who rode you switch from sails to steam, and in your belly you hold the treasures you have ever seen. Most of them dream, most of them dream.
Watch the men who rode you switch from sails to steam, and in your belly you hold the treasures few have ever seen. Most of them dream, most of them dream. And he's got that, Jimmy Buffett has a voice that's just, I don't know how to describe it. Like it's just present and normal,
Mhm.
totally unstressed.
It's
Just like,
yeah.
like he's clearly trying. He's obviously at the top of his game. He spent thousands of hours learning this talent, but he just presents it really as honestly as if he is just strumming on his front porch. Like
He is.
he's
He
got a big
does.
band behind him and 30,000 people in front of him, and it very much feels like he's just at the backyard barbecue.
He is. And he talks about that in that one interview where he's like, I'm not a good singer. He's like, I'm an okay singer.
Mhm.
You know, he's not trying to like hit different octaves. He knows what he is. And that's my favorite thing about Jimmy, about learning. He knows what he is. He leaned into what he is. He never tried to do anything different. He's a fucking chill dude. And there's a cool story about him going to Nashville and trying to make it in the Nashville country scene. But in the 60s, it was very hardcore Loretta Lynn, you know, Dolly Parton. And, you know, they were like, no, this is what we're doing. He was kind of a hippie. And they're like, we like you, we can't market you. And so
Yeah.
then he went back, he packed up and moved to Key West. And there he found where he could be marketed. And then
Yeah,
and also in Austin. He did, I mean, we don't have to get in the whole history of it. You can go watch anything you want, but he does like Austin, Key West, laid back hippie scene. And that's where he found his stride. And yeah, his voice isn't anything crazy. He didn't learn how to play guitar like Clapton. And so he says that, those are his words, but I'm like, we already have those. We need a Jack Johnson and a Jimmy Buffett sometimes. We need just the chill guy that makes us feel good.
And sings about the things that we're all going to experience, and sings about them in he's got a dramatic style to it, but it's more humor based. It's more based on feelings of tranquility. It's like he's able to cut through it, you know, where a lot of rock can be very angsty and very angry and very like sadness and loneliness and everything like that. Jimmy Buffett sings about all of those things, but he also seems to have the cure for it in a way that other singers don't.
You're right. Some of his songs really do have sad undertones, but everyone in the audience is dressed like me and has a parrot on their head. And he makes it digestible and still like, I'm still on vacation having fun. I'm not going to go cry now. It's a good time.
You can live your life on vacation.
Yeah. Yeah. Ow.
Yes, I am a pirate, 200 years too late. The cannons don't thunder, there's nothing to plunder. I'm an over 40 victim of fate, arriving too late. Arriving too late.
Yes, I am a pirate, 200 years too late. The cannons don't thunder. There's nothing to plunder. I'm an over 40 victim of fate, arriving too late, arriving too late.
Yeah.
That's just turning 40. You
Yeah.
don't have to be a pirate. You don't have to be a failed sea captain.
Well, the fun
I
part is he wrote this song about a dude that he knew in Key West that was like a mercenary, a drug runner. You know, he was like a modern day pirate, pirating drugs and all this stuff. And the guy died, like they found him like washed up on shore. But it was kind of like basing it on this guy kind of realizing in his 40s, like this gig isn't going to last forever. And this probably wasn't the greatest idea.
I can't be running guns and drugs up into Key West my whole life.
Yeah.
As much as I'd like to try.
Yeah.
Have you ever smuggled anything in or out of the country?
No, I'm too scared. I haven't even left the country that much, honestly. I took one I took one Caribbean or cruise to Cozumel, and I think we tried to smuggle some booze into some Sprite cans. I can't remember if we got away with it. And then I've been to Ireland. That's the only and I walked into Tijuana once. That's like the only times I've ever left this country. So not a lot of opportunity. No.
Not a lot of smuggling opportunity. Me either. I've never been a smuggler. I don't know how. Like I've talked to like friends of ours who talk about how they've like had to move their pot in and out of Canada when they're making stand-up trips. Like, how does that not just put your heart in your throat?
I wouldn't even try. Yeah. I don't even want to drive across state lines. Say you buy some legally in Colorado and drive it home. I'd be too scared.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought I was going to have to. I was opening for some big comedians in San Diego. And one of them was just like, it's the opener's job to go down to Mexico and come back with the drugs. And he
I know
like,
this voice.
Yep.
I know exactly who you're working with.
And he seemed very, very serious about it. I just kind of swallowed hard. I was like 22. I was like, I hope something happens.
Oh, please. Oh, God.
I hope the night gets derailed somehow. And then thankfully, not that, but thankfully, his then wife took ill and didn't need drugs that night. So it's like, oh, thank God. Thank God. Like, I don't know how I'm going to have to refuse this service somehow.
Sir, I don't want to.
Don't make me do it. Please don't make me do it.
Sir, I'm scared.
Don't kick me off the tour.
That's funny.
I had no idea. I might be able to manage that now, but at 22, I did not have the vocabulary, the world knowledge, or anything like that. Like if you sent me down to Tijuana and expecting me to come back with drugs, like, I would get I don't know what would happen to me, but I certainly would not be returning with the drugs you requested.
No, God, Ben, no. Please don't send 22-year-old Ben to Tijuana. I'm scared for you now, years later. No, don't do it.
I've done a bit of smuggling, and I've run my share of grass. I made enough money to buy Miami, but I pissed it away so fast. Never meant to last. Never meant to last.
I've done a bit of smuggling. I've run my share of grass. Now there are those rumors, and I went really looking for it. And there's not a whole lot of evidence. Like Jimmy Buffett himself just outright denies it. Like he was arrested and he spent like a weekend in jail on smuggling charges, but he says that that's a case of mistaken identity and the charges never stuck. So maybe it was a case of mistaken identity. That does swirl around him. It is a big part of the Buffett myth that he uses his collection of planes and boats to smuggle fun up from Cuba.
Right. Did you see the other, like, I was like, I can just read them now. This like really just couple fun stories about this whole idea of like stuff that he did. Do you know the story on the his plane, his private jet with U2?
No.
Like what happened? Hold on, let me.
Nope.
It takes too long for me to find it. I'll edit it out. Hold on.
God, I hope that if Jimmy Buffett flew like Bono into Nicaragua.
Dude, it's such a like what the fuck story. Okay, Diane, hold on, let me find it. Okay, Jamaica Mistake was inspired by a real life incident in 1996 that had Jamaican police shooting at Buffett's plane on the suspicion that it was smuggling drugs. U2 frontman Bono was also on board with his family and compared the terrifying experience to a scene in a James Bond film.
Yeah, no kidding.
In 2005, Buffett made headlines after a busboy from a Florida restaurant stole his cell phone, which held the phone numbers of many of his high-profile friends, including Alan Jackson and George Strait, George Clooney, Michael Douglas, and Harrison Ford, former presidents Jimmy Carter and Bill Clinton. All these numbers were in his phone. The busboy that stole it, apparently made a bunch of prank phone calls to Clinton.
Awesome.
And the Secret Service tracked the 22-year-old thief into his home and apprehended the phone. I'm like, that's such a great story. And yeah, there was some other stuff. In 2001, he was thrown out of the American Airlines arena in Miami for swearing at a referee during a Miami Heat New York Knicks basketball game. The ref, Joe Forte, had no idea who he was and took offense when Heat coach Pat Riley asked him if he'd ever been a parrot head. Anyway, there's more. There's a lot of stories, but yeah, it's like he was always kind of involved in stuff that made him look, but he was like, no, this was this and this was this, Yeah.
Yeah, it's like when you have like this sort of outsized life that Jimmy Buffett does, like all of those stories just get naturally thrown out of proportion. Like a normal day for him is just like, what the hell happened? Like, yeah, it's no big deal.
Well, he even says in that 60 Minutes interview, he was like, I quit smoking weed a long time ago. And he goes, and I also quit like sugar and gluten.
Yep.
And he was like, except for on Sundays, that would be my cheat day. I would have like sugar and I'd maybe like make a skinny margarita. But and this, I mean, he was a billionaire, and we'll talk about how he like really got smart about business, just with not even his music, just selling products. That's how you make money, is you sell yourself as a product. And I lost my train of thought. He was saying he quit smoking weed and stuff, and he was like, I'm seen as this like laid back, whatever, pothead probably, but he's a workaholic. He just works constantly and is actually pretty straight and narrow, which I think he's probably like, let's keep that on the down low. I got a persona to push here.
Don't tell anybody how hard it is to run over 150 bars and restaurants.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not saying that Jimmy Buffett's making the specs run every day, but he's definitely doing things.
Yeah.
I made enough money to buy Miami, but I pissed it away so fast. Never meant to last. Never meant to last.
Yeah. And I think that's the drug dealer. He's like, I made a lot of money, but I'm also a drug dealer. So I wasn't real smart and savvy with my money. This is not Jimmy Buffett's story, obviously. That guy didn't piss away shit. He's a fucking billionaire.
Yeah, he held on to the empire. He held it together somehow or another.
And I have been drunk now for over 2 weeks. I passed out and I rallied and I sprung a few leaks. But I got to stop wishing, got to go fishing down to rock bottom again. Just a few friends, just a few friends.
And I have been drunk now for over 2 weeks. I passed out and I rallied and I sprung a few leaks. But I gotta stop wishing, gotta go fishing, down to rock bottom again. Just a few friends, just a few friends. I like that.
I really love that whole verse. I really do. I passed out and I rallied and I sprung a few leaks. That I don't know what that means other than like I pissed myself.
Yep. It happens from time to time.
Yeah. But I mean, go ahead.
Obviously it's Jimmy Buffett, and it's hard. You can't talk about Jimmy Buffett without talking about how his songs are definitely for older people. Like this is not young people dynamic. I'm horny, I want to meet some people music. This is how do you struggle with the responsibilities and pressures of being 40. And generally you respond to it by having a margarita in the middle of the day some of the time.
Yeah,
and just a few friends left.
When you're young, your whole life is a vacation. When you get older, that's all you look forward to is your vacation. And I think that's who he's pandering to, because he talks about when he looks at the people at his concert, he's like, you're a mess. But then he realizes they go back to work on Monday and they have to get their shit together. They're a mess right now because they're letting loose. They're having a moment. And, a lot of America has to get these jobs where you're awarded 2 weeks of vacation a year. And that's heartbreaking to me. I mean, that's not a life. That the well-oiled machine needs to back off. Like, And so when they do get those 2 weeks or they do get that Caribbean vacation, yeah, they're going to go a little stupid wild. Like they earned it, damn it.
Yeah, but they're also going to do it in sort of the safest way possible because these are family people. You know,
Yeah.
like they take the whole family out. Like, yeah, mom and dad are going to have a few margaritas. We're going to listen to these corny Jimmy Buffett songs. We're all going to sing along and have a good time. You kids can go play over there.
Yeah.
You know, there's probably plenty of parents who are like secretly like have their fingers crossed. I hope my kid's first experience with marijuana is when they're 14 years old with me at a Jimmy Buffett concert. You know?
I think Corbin said his first experience, he went to the Rolling Stones, was his first concert. I mean, I was like, no one's going to top that. And he went with the Banditos. Like one of his friends' dad was a bandito. So he's like this little kid in this, like surrounded by this motorcycle gang, and everybody's just passing around these fat joints. And I think he just got like a contact high. But I was like, best story.
Yeah.
Best story ever. First concert, Rolling Stones, Banditos, contact high. Amazing.
Was it like 10 or 11 years old?
Yeah, I think he was very young.
Good Lord.
I know. Mine was Vanilla Ice and I didn't want to go. It's a different story.
I go for younger women, live with several a while. Though I ran away, they'd come back one day. Still could manage to smile. Just takes a while. Just takes a while.
I go for younger women, lived with several a while. Though I ran them away, they'd come back one day. Still could manage to smile. Just takes a while. Just takes a while. That's true. Time will heal all of your wounds.
Yeah.
But also, he sort of seduced and dated his wife, and then she left him. Like they had spent a couple of years together, and then she left him, took off for about 9 years, and she did come back. So he is singing from knowledge here, you know, and they've been together since like 1990. They have 3 kids together now.
Yeah.
And she's obviously was the love of his life.
She's gorgeous too. And I almost picked Come Monday because I love Come Monday. And that story is about hating being away from her, like being out on tour and just wanting to come back home to her. And, you know, she's going on like a vacation without him. And I mean, yeah, it's just, you know, it's funny because Monday is a day most workers hate because you have to go back to work. But for a performer, you work all weekend and then Monday you're back home with your family, and he wants to come home. Come Monday, I'll be back in your arms. Like that song was about her, which I think is so sweet.
That is very sweet.
Yeah.
No. There are good parts to this life.
Yeah.
Mother, Mother Ocean, after all the years I've found, my occupational hazard being, my occupation's just not around. I feel like I drowned, gonna head uptown. I feel like I drowned, gonna head uptown.
Mother Ocean, after all the years I've found, I really like this line. My occupational hazard being my occupation's just not around. And obviously he's alluding to the piracy and everything like that. It's like, oh, those days are just over. I can't do that anymore. I feel like I've drowned. I'm gonna head uptown. I feel like I've drowned. I'm gonna head uptown.
I don't know I guess he wrote this after the guy died, but that guy drowned. Like that guy was found body washed up shore. I didn't do research to find out what happened. Like someone kill him, suicide, drunk, fall in the ocean. I did no research to find out why the guy died, but that's a horrible way to be found.
Yeah, there are many ways for smugglers in Key West to die.
Yeah. Yeah.
Washed up on shore is probably what they all dream about.
I didn't realize Jimmy had written a bunch of books, like not just autobiographies, but just stories. Like he's an author, like a New York Times bestselling author. Which is
there were so many novelists, like the Hunter S. Thompson is the famous one. He lived in Jimmy Buffett's house while he was getting divorced from his first wife. But there were several, like Tom Corcoran was down there. There were a bunch of other writers that were sort of around Jimmy Buffett at the time. So it doesn't surprise me at all that some of that rubbed off on him. Like, what are you guys doing all day? Like, I'm just sitting here strumming my guitar, trying to write a song. You fellas writing books? I'll try to write a book with you.
I mean, it's a dream life to me. I love to write and I love music. Can you imagine just like the characters that he was? I mean, I was listening to this one book that someone else wrote about him. It wasn't his, he wrote a biography Pirate Looks at 50, but it wasn't on Audible, so I couldn't get it. So I was reading this other one that was a collection of stories about him and about his life. And I didn't know that Shel Silverstein was a musician. I mean, there's only one Shel Silverstein, right? Like, he was down there living with them, writing songs and playing music and stuff. Like, I only know him as the children's book writer.
Shel Silverstein had a huge, big life. If I remember right, Shel Silverstein was also CIA.
Oh my God. I need to go down
Shel
this
Silverstein episode.
Oh, I need to go down this tunnel because I mean, everyone loves him as the poet, but I do remember I was like, oh, wait, there's more to the story. This guy has a much bigger life than that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think in order to be able to write at that level, you have to have a big life. Like there's no, it's not just like sitting in your room, you know, doing the wordplay thing. Like you have to be living a great, big, expansive life, or those inspirations are just not going to come to you.
I'm going to tell you, doing research on this, like I'm an ocean girl and an island girl, and I've been, you know, to the Virgin Islands a lot, and I've been to the Bahamas, but I've never made it to the Keys. And I want to go to the Keys, and I want to go like to where Hemingway and where Hugh, I want to go experience the Keys and kind of get that feel for all of this. I think it would be.
What I've heard is it's a really difficult thing because you want to go to the Keys, but you want to go to the Keys in 1972.
Yeah.
Like you want a biplane and a time machine.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. I'm probably not going to get, you know, but I will say I'd never been to New Orleans till I was like 35. And when I went for the first time, I was like, oh my God, I feel it. I feel the seedy underbelly, the voodoo, the history, the past, the pain, the witchery. I feel it. I mean, and it wasn't just like the touristy stuff. Like when you're there, feet on the ground, you're like, it's an energy, and you're like, oh, it's all around me. This is amazing. And so that's what I want out of Key West. I want to go there and like the tourists and the drunks and the Florida people, that'll all be there. But I'm like, I think I can get the vibe though. I think I can tap into it. Yeah,
I really do like it. Boat people are different people altogether.
Yeah.
I used to do construction kind of like around where you live, and we were do a lot of like hurricane repairs and everything like that in Kima and San Leon, which are kind of oceanside, or at least like Bayside cities. So just the way that people live down there is just unbelievable to me. You know, like I would start my day like bringing everybody the tools, bringing everybody down to the job site, laying out the goals for the day. Here's what I want you to have done, and then by 10 o'clock, I'd be on my way back into the office. But I'd stop and get a Red Bull or whatever at the convenience store, and invariably there's a line of people just buying 6-packs on a Tuesday morning because there's nothing to do. We're just going to sit on the porch and we're going to drink some beer. We're going to be out on the water today.
Even it's Galveston water, but it's still the water. I get it. I get it. I mean, maybe it's the same in a weird way with lake people. You're just like, I'm just gonna sit on my porch and look at the lake. Like water, bodies of water can send you in a different way.
Here's my selfish rich guy dream. I want to buy all the properties around a scenic lake, all of the lakeside properties, so that I effectively own the lake. It's mine.
Oh, I love it. I love doing billionaire mogul fantasies of the dumb shit you would do with your money. And people get so mad, like these billionaires like going into space. And I was like, you would too.
Sure we would, but that doesn't mean I can't be mad at them for doing it.
You can, but it's just jealousy. You're not actually mad. You're jealous.
Yep. But that jealousy goes in all the, and it's not just aimed at billionaires. You know, if I see somebody like driving around in like a $60,000 Tesla or whatever, I'm just like, so everybody you know is perfectly fine right now. Like everybody's taken care of. You don't have a friend that's struggling. You know, like nobody. You don't know anybody who's hasn't got their rent paid this month.
Here's the thing. The same people that bitch about like billionaires and Tesla are the same simple bitches that will spend so much money on a Louis Vuitton or a Birkin bag, which to me is fucking offensive. I will never pay more than $20 for a purse ever in my life. And when you ask them like, why do you want that? And I'm like, oh, it's nice. And it's well made. It's got well stitching. I'm like, bullshit. You want to show people that you have more money than them. It is status. And it's bullshit, and I think it makes you look like an asshole. Sorry, that's my purse rant.
And we're all, or at least me, I'm definitely guilty of it too. Like obviously I'm not rich, but I mean the idea that I spend $10 a day on cigarettes and $30 at the bar every day, like come on, man. That is clearly an extravagant creature comfort. That is my Louis Vuitton bag for sure.
Yeah, I just think people are hypocrites. Like they're gonna make, they're gonna like make fun of super rich people and then carry a Birkin bag or try to have a Louis Vuitton bag. I'm like, you're no better. You're
Mhm,
just trying to be like, I'm better than you in this way. And I'm just like,
mhm,
that's fucking stupid. It's stupid to me to pay that much money for a purse.
mhm. Especially when the ultimate status symbol is being able to spend all day on your porch strumming your guitar. Like, that doesn't cost you anything.
It's
Just the
nothing.
fact that you have the freedom to do it is the
Oh no.
biggest like flex.
It could either be like you're a billionaire or you're homeless. It can go in two different directions. Or like, yeah, I don't have a job. I'm on unemployment. So I can sit here and strum a guitar all day.
I think the first time I really felt that like a human connection to, like, I first heard of Jimmy Buffett because a friend of mine in high school was going with her family. Like her dad wanted to take the whole
Oh,
family to go see Jimmy Buffett. It was like, so what are you doing tonight? Like, oh, and it was kind of like a roll of the eyes. Like, I got to go see this dumb thing that my dad wants to go do. So that was sort of like my introduction to Jimmy Buffett was just like, oh, he's the thing that kids don't want to go see with their parents. I was really surprised to find that like, no, there is a whole culture of families who go multi-gener, like 3 generations of families will go
yeah.
all together and enjoy it. It's just amazing to me. Like my family never got the opportunity to go see John Denver, but we would have.
Yeah.
Oh, we would have, and we would have loved it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That could have been y'all's thing had he lived. That would have been your whole thing. You might still
I
be going to see
know.
John Denver.
We can go see a John Denver impersonator. We'll make that happen somehow or another.
Oh.
But the second time I remember really running into Jimmy Buffett was I read Hunter Thompson's son's book about his life with his dad, Hunter Thompson. And I went through a phase, like I think a lot of young men do, where Hunter Thompson was my absolute hero. You know, I love the way that I love the way he just boiled everything down. I love the way he had this wisdom. I love the wild man streak in him, the idea that he could do all of these drugs and still come to, lucid, beautiful sentences. I liked his confrontational attitude. But then I read his son's book and I read the collected letters and I realized that this guy had made a nightmare for his wife and his son, that living with him and the uncertainty of dad being an alcoholic and dad writing all night and then being volatile and hungover all during the day was incredibly destructive to his son. And his dad's friends, even though they were partying with Hunter, recognized that. Like when Hunter Thompson and his wife Sandy were getting divorced, Hunter Thompson and Juan came to Key West to stay with Jimmy Buffett. While Hunter Thompson was seeping into his alcoholism and his rages and everything like that, Jimmy Buffett was taking Juan out fishing. Buffett was just like, you need to get away from like Jimmy Buffett was deliberately showing Juan Thompson, like, not in so many words, but basically like, you're growing up in a freak show. Like where you're growing up isn't normal. Like he was actually the first time that Juan Thompson felt any kind of masculine stability was on the boat with Jimmy Buffett. Like here's a guy who knows how to use the boat, knows how to take care of it, is just going to teach me to fish. He's not going to rage at me. He's not going to hit me. He's not going to devolve into drunkenness. He's going to maintain, and we're going to have a good time. Like that was the first time in his life that Juan Thompson like felt any kind of security around men, because he's used to his dad's friends just being absolute terrors.
Wow. Well, Jimmy, will you be my dad?
Yep.
Will you adopt me?
But you can see that at his concert because he's a surrogate father for all of those families. Like they're definitely looking up to like dad is the entertainer. Like listen, imagine in most families, like when dad brings out the guitar, there is like the roll of the eyes, like, oh, here he goes again. But when you see Jimmy Buffett do it, 20,000 people go absolutely ape shit, and he's doing it with dad jokes and dad songs. He's just the very, very best at it. And obviously that inclination is something that he uses every day of his life, because Juan Thompson isn't the only person who tells stories about the kind of guy that Jimmy Buffett was.
Yeah. And you can tell, and his own children like really love their dad. And you can see it in his shows. You can see it in his ego. He didn't have this massive ego. He knew what he did. He leaned into it. I've never seen him on stage not having a genuine good time. Like, you must be tired of singing Margaritaville. You have to be. He didn't have a lot of hits. And every performance I've seen of him, it looked like he was genuinely like, thank you. This song made me think. I'm giving the gratitude back. Let's have a good time. The smile is real. It was amazing. And we have to talk about, like, he didn't get an award until he combined with
Alan Jackson.
Alan
Yeah.
Jackson. I said Randy Jackson. They're both very tall.
Yeah.
Alan Jackson to do It's 5 o'clock somewhere, and they got an award for that, and that was his first award.
And Jimmy Buffett was hilarious at accepting it because Alan Jackson obviously was like the biggest star in country music at the time, and Jimmy Buffett was like, "And I just want to, just want to thank you for letting me help resurrect your broken career."
Yeah, it's super funny, and that's when I didn't realize, like, Alan Jackson is very, very tall, but I saw Jimmy Buffett against a lot of people, and I was like, oh, I think he's a little guy. I think he's kind of a short guy. I didn't picture that.
He's a little roly-poly, but also what I admire about him is like no rock star affectations whatsoever. Like sometimes you look at Mick Jagger at 80, still wearing the leather pants and the long hair and everything like that, and you're like, I don't know about this. Bono with his obvious hair plugs and the ever-present sunglasses. You see Jimmy Buffett, he's literally in a t-shirt and cargo shorts, and that's stage attire. That's
flip-flops and bald. Yep. And yeah, dude, he is your dad having a good time, and I really love the simplicity of it.
And the simple jokes, the fins to the right, fins to the left. The land shark coming in. It's hilarious.
I love it. I almost went and bought land shark beer to be drinking during this podcast. Well, okay, speaking of, we'll talk about his billions quickly, but I love the story of like he would be down in Key West and walking past like these shops, and they would have Jimmy Buffett t-shirts that they were selling, and they were misspelling his name. It looked like Buffett with one T. And he was like, I'm getting ripped off here. I'm not they're selling me and I'm not making any money. So he's like, why don't I get involved in the marketing of myself? And he opened up like a Margaritaville shop and, started taking control of his own image, spelling his fucking name right on shirts at least. And then it just grew into an empire. I mean, I went to a Margaritaville resort in Lake Conroe right before Charlie started school. And there's one in Times Square. They have them everywhere. And the merch you can get, they sell Lost Shakers of Salt. They went through Margaritaville, the song. It's like, what all can we sell from this song? Every item you can purchase from that song. And that is just smart, because I don't know what it is with people and souvenirs and merch. I'm not a merch person. I didn't go near the Beyonce merch line. I'm just not a merch person. I'm going to Depeche Mode next week. Not going to buy any merch, but most people do. And they're crazy for it. And that's really smart to be like, that's where you make your billions.
Yep. Very, very well done. I applaud you, Mr. Buffett. Well done, sir. Well done, sir.
Yeah, to be a guy who has only won one award, has a couple super famous songs, didn't write a whole lot. He doesn't have a long discography. And to be a billionaire, it's smart. It's just really smart.
Just because he could build that culture up around him. Like he was able to do that. Like somehow or another, he has his finger on a certain brand of truly American escapism. But you just like it's, how do you go to a beach if you're a man of a certain age or if you have a family and not participate in Jimmy Buffett somehow or another?
Exactly.
He is the king of the beach. He owns it somehow or another.
Yeah. Who would it be if we didn't have Jimmy? Would it have turned to like Kenny Chesney or something? Who's our other beach person?
I have no idea. Like, would there be a gap for one of the Beach Boys themselves to kind of come in and do the? But he's just such a unique character. Like Jimmy Buffett sipping his margaritas, flying his marijuana around in his biplanes. You can't make it up. My deep cut song for today, it was I chose Mondo Bongo by Joe Strummer and the Mescaleros. But the reason I chose it is because that song really feels to me like Joe Strummer tries his hand at Jimmy Buffett.
Latino Caribo, Mondo Bongo, the flower looks good in your hair. Latino Caribo, Mondo Bongo, nobody said it was fair. Oh,
you're so right. That's a good
Joe
one.
Strummer, this worldly English punk, falls in love with reggae music and island music and what we term world music, and he assembles these international musicians to form the Mezcaleros, and he writes this song called Mondo Bongo, which is about all of this Jimmy Buffett stuff. It's about the biplanes, it's about the boo, but it's still darker. He's, I was patrolling the Pachenko noodle parlor in the nefarious zone. It's very Joe Strummery, hanging out
Yes.
with insects, undeducting. The CIA was on the phone. It's like, it's
Such a
Joe
good-
Strummer drags Jimmy Buffett into kind of like an island noir.
Yes. Oh,
Mm.
we talked about this. Like I introduced you to that, like
Mhm.
that album and stuff, and then I completely forgot about it. And then I was like, oh my God, I totally forgot how good that was.
It's fantastic. I used to play it at Layla, the tiki bar I worked at. Oh, it's also fascinating how even though tiki people and Jimmy Buffett people, parrot heads, you'd think there'd be a lot of overlap, and there is.
there?
The hardcore factions insist on their differences. Like they insist on it. There are people who are both parrot heads and tiki files, but you can't be one. You can't, never at the same time. Like you just can't.
Interesting. What's
It's
the difference
really,
in
really
the person
strange.
who is not a parrot head? Are they like more Hawaiian? Are they more, what is their vibe?
I really couldn't tell you what the actual difference is, but to me, it's like tiki is more imaginary than Margaritaville. Like I always joke that Tiki Island is a lot further away from Margaritaville than people really understand. Because when it's Tiki Island, there's gods and natives, and like there's all of this really sort of like fancy iconography and ideology that doesn't exist. Like Margaritaville, there's no real like place that is Margaritaville, but come on, there's Margaritavilles everywhere. Like the actual places, and then also like anytime you're seaside and you got a guitar and you're taking it easy, you're in Margaritaville. You'll never be on Tiki Island. Tiki Island is only in a fantasy. Tiki Island only exists within the Tiki bar.
I get that. And and this is really rude and people can get mad, but sometimes I'm like, Margaritaville is where conservatives go white trash.
Yep. Yep. There's definitely a strain of that.
And I'm going to tell you that because I went to Margaritaville on Lake Conroe. It was very much that vibe.
I think part of it is also just like that phase of your life. Like we talk about conservatism, and it's really like that small, it's got that real sort of like creepy racist feeling to it now. But for certain people of a certain age, like when you're retired, really all you're looking for is market stability. Like you want to make sure that your real estate investments stay good. You want to make sure your investment portfolio is fine. Like
Well, in
anything
that
that's
age, they also
destabilizing.
they can get very fiscally conservative and socially liberal. Like I don't care who wants to mess with who or what their pronouns are, but I do need my money to stay where it is.
Exactly. I want at least 30 more years of this.
Yeah.
I can't have any market volatility. Thank you very much.
I've worked too hard. Don't take half of it, which they already do. Yeah. Okay, so that was your deep cut. I'll say Jeremy is bringing a 6 degrees. I don't know what it is yet, but we will put it right here.
Hey friends, welcome to another edition of 6 Degrees, where this week we're going to attempt to connect the Clash to beachfront balladeer Jimmy Buffett. Though loyal to his Coral Reefer band, Buffett's catalog does feature a number of interesting guest appearances, including background vocals on the 1985 album Last Mango in Paris from Roy Orbison. 2 years later, Orbison would be in full collaboration mode as a chance lunch with ELO's Jeff Lynne led to the beginnings of what would become the Traveling Wilburys, an 80s supergroup of 60s rock mainstays, the lone exception being Tom Petty. Petty's main band, The Heartbreakers, features legendary keyboardist Benmont Tench, a serial collaborator whose strangest might be on South Park's Chef Aid album as part of a group that included Flea, Rage Against the Machine's Tom Morello, 311's Nick Hexum, and X's DJ Bonebreak, all brought together by the song's main artist, Joe Strummer from The Clash. So this week we went Jimmy Buffett to Roy Orbison to Tom Petty to Benmont Tench to The Clash. Back to Diane and Beth.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that's really, really fun. And okay, so my deep cut, I had a hard time. I almost didn't do one this week, but I was like, I wanted to do talk about Mason Jennings for a long time. And I shouldn't say it's a deep cut because this guy's been putting out albums nonstop since 1998. And I was a hardcore listener through the early 2000s, but I just feel like he's just not a household name. People who know him, but I came across him back when I was listening to Jack Johnson, which is very Jimmy Buffett to me. And I will say the first time I heard Pirate Looks at 40 was Jack Johnson's cover of it. And I was like, oh, this is okay. I found out it was a Jimmy Buffett song and I really like Jack Johnson's version of it. But I went through a phase in college where I needed needed peace in my life because college was so hard. And I fell in love with Jack Johnson because I was also surfing at the time. I learned how to surf. And I needed like that music that just kind of is simple, not a lot to it. He's barefoot, makes me feel good. And, you know, he played with Ben Harper. And then there was also like this weird crossover with this guy named Mason Jennings. And he sang like really cool, simple singer-songwriter guitar songs. And I remember turning Jerry Wayne on to Mason Jennings, and he fell in love with them. But there's a song called Darkness Between the Fireflies that's really, really sweet and good.
I like the title.
Yeah, he's talking about that. One of the lyrics is, honey, I'm sure you've been in love before. We've all been in love. There's always been someone else before me. But he's like, don't be jealous of that. The past is beautiful, like the darkness between the fireflies.
Honey, I'm sure that you've been in love before. Plenty of men have held high places in your eyes. And jealousy has got no use for me. The past is beautiful, like the darkness between the fireflies.
It's really nice.
Oh,
He's got, I mean, I can send you, he's got some really good, there's another song called Sorry Signs on Cash Machines that's really, really good. He's a really, really good writer. But I just wanted to, I mean, he has a new album. He has a 2023 album. I looked up, I was like, fuck, I need to go back and like catch up because I always like his music. So yeah, Mason Jennings, Darkness Between the Fireflies is my deep cut this week.
I will check that out.
What are you bringing to us next week?
We're going to do Such Great Heights by the Postal Service. It might be one of my favorite songs. I had to check with you this morning. Like, have we not done that already?
Oh,
how have we not done that? It's one of my favorite little tunes.
Yeah.
And the way that the Postal Service, they famously, the way that they wrote their first album, like they literally wrote it like sending each other tapes through the Postal Service. So,
wow, I didn't know that. Oh, there's so much for me to learn because they're one of those bands that I like everything I hear, but I never dug in. So I'm excited to do that.
Yeah, me too. Me too. I'm looking forward to it.
So we haven't set it in stone, but we're thinking about recording next week from St. Julian's.
I hope so.
From the circus.
Town.
Yeah.
From the circus bar. I'm looking forward to it.
All right, cool. All right. Well, that's it, you guys.
Thank you so much. And Vogue.
1, 2, 3.
Rock the Cash Bar is produced by Diane Gallagher, music by Chuck Savage and Eddie Hawkins. Special thank you to Jeremy Essig for 6 Degrees and to Sarah Wessling for the Guilty Pleasures vocals. Our website is rockthecashbarpodcast.com, and there you can find links to our Spotify playlist and to our Patreon. Thank you for tuning in, and we will see you next week.